now that I know the basic 4 keyboard shortcuts, if I want to know how to move around in Excel, it's pretty easy. The first thing I'm going to do is go in and select on an area, and I'm just going to set up a couple of things so that we can see stuff. So don't pay attention to about the next minute or so as I just type in some things. So first, I'm just going to set in some data, right? So there's 1, and I want to set up a formula that says I want to go into my first thing before me, B2, and I want to add 1 to it. So I'm going to hit enter on that. Okay, so the answer is 2. I'm going to go back to that, and if I look in this little arrow right here, there's a plus sign that comes up. I click on it, and I'm going to edit over to here. Now all of a sudden I have a bunch of numbers over on here. And then, for example, I want this thing to equal this, but I want to divide it by 3. And there's another set of answers. I want to copy that, and I want to move it down to here, right? And then I get a bunch of numbers. Those aren't actually useful, so I'm going to change this to times 3, just so we can get an idea of a couple of things to come up over here. And I'm going to fill that down as well, right over there. Okay, we're only going to go to this level right here. And then let's just say that I want to take this number and I want it to equal, this minus, say, this. Okay, great. So now I have this thing, and I can fill this down, and I can also fill this thing across, and I can also fill this thing down, and you get the idea. So I can do that with my mouse, or I can be quick about it, and I can say, hey, Control C, and I want this thing to get filled in right here. Okay, so now the important thing here is just being able to highlight, to go and navigate around in Excel. So now I have a series of data that's just kind of floating around. Whenever I'm in working with a set of data that I've just downloaded from somewhere, what I want to do is give myself some room. I want to give myself about 3 columns in the left-hand side and 3 columns in the top minimum, because I'm going to mess around with things immediately. So the way I do that is use my alternative keyboard. I can hit Alt-I, and it'll say Insert. And what I want to do is insert a couple of columns. So I'm going to go down to C, Columns, and bam, all of a sudden I got a new column in there. I'm going to do that 3 times. Alt-I, Insert, Columns. Alt-I, Insert, Columns. Okay, so now I've got a couple of those things in there. What I want to then do is highlight them all, and I want to shrink them down into a small thing, so in case I need them later, they're there. And I'm going to do that again. I'm going to go and quickly, if I need to get to the beginning of if my cursor is floating around down here someplace, how do I get it to where I need it to be? Well, I hit Home. So if I hit Home right now, it's going to take me to the lefternmost line that I'm on. If I hit End, it'll take me all the way to the end of something that I'm typed on, but I'm not typed into anything. I can then hold down the Control key and Home, and it'll take me all the way to the upper left of my screen, row A1, every single time. So if you'll notice now, I've got this set of data, and I want to maneuver around in it really quick using my arrow key, but not using my mouse. So if I wanted to go over and get over to line E2 really quick, actually I'm going to insert a couple more columns right now. So I'm going to go Alt-I, and this time I want to insert rows. Alt-I, rows, Alt-I, rows. Okay, so now I have my data set. It's protected by a couple of things over here, and I'm not going to shrink my rows because they're a little bit narrower than my columns, so I'm okay. And what I want to do is I want to get down to row E5, which you'll see over here. Quick way for me to do that is I'm going to arrow down 5 times and then hit Control to the right, and I'm over there. There's another way I could have done it. I could have, now, how do I undo that? Control Home, back in the upper left. So I arrow down 5 times, Control right arrow, and I'm all the way over there. See how what happened was when I was on the row A5, holding down Control and hitting the right arrow takes me to a change in fields. So notice how there's no change right here. There's a bunch of empty things. It takes me to here. Similarly, if I were to hold down Control right again, it'll take me all the way over to O11. Why? Because all through E5, E6, G, all this stuff, there's no change in field, so it takes me to the next change, which is an empty thing. So if I hit Control right again, it takes me all the way over to the last cell in Excel. So I've quickly now moved 3 ways. So watch, I'm at the very end. If I were to hit Home, takes me all the way back to the beginning of the line. If I were to hit Control Home, upper left of it. If I want to move quickly to the right, I hit Control Right. If I hit Control Right again, it takes me all the way over there. If I hit Control Right again, now I'm all the way over to the left-hand side. To go backwards, I can do the same thing. Control Right, and Control Right. I can do the exact same thing moving up and down. So I'm going to say Control Home, back in the beginning. I want to go down, Control Down, takes me to here. Control Down again, takes me to here. Control Down again takes me to the very bottom of Excel. If I hit Home, it'll take me to the left line. If I hit Control Home, all the way up to the top. So Control Home is a really good, cool thing. If I go over to here and I hit Control End, it takes me to the last place in the lower right-hand area that I've gotten stuff up. So if I hit Control Home here, upper left, Control End, lower right. So there we go. Anything that I've typed gives me a little bit of leeway. So that's how I maneuver and navigate around in this thing pretty quick. Now the other thing that's really handy to do in this is holding down Shift. So if I were to hold down Shift as I arrow over, you'll notice that it highlights a field. So this is going to allow me to combine with my Control-C, Control-V functions to copy and paste bigger numbers of items really quickly. So going to the very beginning, if I were up in the upper left and I wanted to get down to where I was, I'd arrow down 5 times, and I'd hit Control over. Now, holding down Shift, holding down Control, holding down arrow, I highlight the first column, and then I can hold, I'm still holding down Shift and Control. I hit over, and now I've highlighted that whole area that I'm working with. If I want to copy it, Control-C, I could then move all the way down, and really quickly, I've just set up a whole other spreadsheet using slightly different inputs. So this is really useful when I'm setting up and needing to copy and paste different formulas. The great thing about Excel is if I'm copying and pasting things, it'll automatically change the destination context if I'm working with formulas. So that's how to work with formulas. So quickly, if I wanted to undo that, it would hit Control-Z, right? And now I'm done. So the basic 4 functions that I want you to remember is using the Control key, I can hit Control Home, take me to the beginning. If I hit just plain Home, wherever I am, it'll take me to the beginning of a line. If I hit End, it'll take me to the end of a line. If I hit Control End, it'll take me to the bottom. Control Home takes me to the beginning. Then Control Arrow will take me to, now's the time to hit Undo, Control-Z. If I hit Control Right arrow, it takes me to the beginning, then the next change. Control Up or Down, next change, and then Control Shift arrow highlights big swaths of data. Shift arrow up and down highlights series of data so that I can copy that stuff really quickly. There we go. So now you know how to move around real quick using your arrow keys. You also know how to hold down Shift and the arrow keys to highlight things that you might want to copy or paste. And again, my usual Control-C. I accidentally changed my keyboard, so I'm going to undo that. Control-C, I italicize things. But if I wanted to highlight this stuff, Control-C, and now I want to go down here, and I can hit Control-V, and I got stuff. Now you'll notice that this stuff didn't copy things the exact same. What it ended up doing is give me a bunch of zeros. There's a reason for that. I have the right formulas in here. If I wanted to paste the numbers, I would edit it slightly different. I would have had to say, so watch, if I wanted to undo my paste, but I wanted to edit and paste those values, I could go into here and paste special, and then it would ask me to say what different things I could paste. But that's another lesson, so this is all you're getting for now.